How rich people make money through debts. There's a saying that goes, "To him that has, more shall be given." Simply put, this means to a large extent that great amounts of wealth can be acquired by already being rich. What if I told you that the rich are actually using money that is not theirs to get richer? Yes, the rich literally create new money out of thin air with debt. How do they do it? That's what you are about to find out in this video, so watch till the end. Before we continue, I must state it clearly that this video is for educational purposes and not financial advice. Debt, when utilized correctly, can give you control over assets that increase in value and generate cash flow, which boosts your net worth while using other people's money. Yes, debt can make you wealthy. Well, if you know what you're doing anyway. An asset that is worth several times your monthly payment might be in your control for a small monthly cost, thanks to good debt's ability to build leverage. The item that you hold makes up your profit, not the money you receive. In many cases, a need for an entrepreneur to have access to funds during the initial stages of creating and operating a new business causes many entrepreneurs to seek out business loans. And yes, even billionaires do this a lot. They keep sourcing for money from the bank and their associates, when they obviously can afford to pay, yet they prefer to borrow to make major investments than use their own cash. The business owner owns the actual business as well as the value of the future profits and cash flow, while the bank has rights to the interest on the debt and the payments. Debt provides people with the capital they require to produce valuable assets. This means you can access capital for new businesses with debt and credit. One thing is very important though, and that is knowing the differences between good and bad debt. A good debt enables you to amass assets that will appreciate. The interest on the loan is frequently tax deductible, and you can utilize the income generated by the asset to pay off the debt. On the other hand, bad debt is the kind that is used to buy stuff, services, or assets that have no chance of earning any money and/or lose value over time. There is no income from the asset to pay off the debt, and the loan interest is not tax deductible. By taking out low-interest loans and gaining more control over assets, wealthy people make use of good debt to increase returns on their investments. Their assets and capital are only used to secure loans with a sufficient credit line for use in business and investing, while their borrowed money is working to generate returns and increase their net worth. Their assets may be earning returns as well. Here are several ways that debt and leverage can make wealthy individuals even wealthier, and you can start to set up your finances so that you can begin using good debt to build wealth. Let's talk about consolidating debts. You could be spending far more than necessary on interest and fees by managing several debts. You may find it beneficial, for instance, to raise your mortgage payment and use the additional money to pay off other types of unproductive debt, such as credit card balances and personal loans. Even if your mortgage payments may not change, you will use the house loan's lower interest rate to pay off debt with a higher interest rate. Consider taking out a mortgage on a new home as another typical example of good debt when it comes to achieving your goals. The majority of people are unable to purchase a home outright. There are advantages to going into debt for a property, especially if you can pay for it in one lump sum. Equity in a home and potential tax benefits result from paying down a mortgage. Also, by consistently making your payments, you'll be capable of boosting your credit score if you know you'll be able to make your monthly payment. Only profit is taxed when it comes to income that is not tied to salaries. This means that while wealthy people can report a very high total amount of income at the end of the year, they can simultaneously use a very high total amount of spending to reduce the amount of taxes they owe. You can also recycle debt, which is the practice of using the equity you have built up as you pay off your mortgage to purchase shares or other real estates. Once more, the bad debt is converted into a good debt that can generate income, be used to repay the loan, and offer tax benefits. Any extra money can be put back into your mortgage to accelerate repayment and reduce interest costs. By using margin, you can purchase more shares of stock than you have available cash. If the stocks you purchase may be utilized for full leverage, traders and investors can typically double the size of their total trade position when using margin accounts. More crucially, margin enables day traders to keep their purchasing power without having to wait for all of their trades to settle. You could leverage your investment and open a margin account, for instance, if you have $30,000 in your conventional brokerage account. You can deposit up to 50% of the stock's purchase price into a margin account. You would have $30,000 in cash on hand, and your broker would loan you an additional $30,000. Then you can buy things worth $60,000 with your $30,000 investment. This can afford you the opportunity to buy shares worth $60,000. This is a leverage from your initial $30,000 investment. You can also pay the debt off and keep the profit if the stock price rises. The drawback is that your brokerage business may issue a margin call if the equity in your account drops below a specific amount. Your broker may sell your entire stake in a stock and incur losses if you're unable to meet your margin call due to a lack of money. So it is extremely risky. This is where the rich have an advantage. They leverage not because they cannot afford it, but it gives them the opportunity to spend much more than the liquidity they have, and if there's an emergency, as described above, they can liquidate some other asset to get it sorted. So rich people do get to take better risks with debts than an average Joe can. Let's talk about short selling. The practice of borrowing shares from an investor and selling them in the expectation that the value of the shares would drop is known as short selling. Your broker can return the shares to the account they were borrowed from once you buy to cover the short position, which will be your debit purchase price to buy back the shares you were short on the open market. These days, everything is mechanized and done electronically. A short seller reverses the trade flow by first selling and then buying back. Using debt, you can make money if you sell something short for more than you'll have to pay to buy it back later. You will also need to pay margin interest on the size of the position kept if you are short a stock. Short sellers have amassed enormous profits by precisely timing stock price falls. The drawback of short selling is that losses are limitless, meaning that investors may lose considerably more money than they initially put up. Also, if you only pay taxes on a stock if you sell it, which is a capital gains tax on the profits when it comes to stock. Unrealized earnings, which are the foundation of Silicon Valley wealth, are retained by billionaire tech companies. This is yet another advantage rich people have. They have enough reserve to play with. To avoid paying income tax and other taxable events like selling assets for capital gains, investors might finance living expenditures using loans. For instance, they can take a margin loan from their broker to purchase stocks for their portfolio holdings without having to sell any of them right now. They then pay it back later by selling equities that have fallen in value without incurring capital gains tax. High net worth people can also live off asset-backed credit lines and only repay loans from sources with favorable tax structures. Like selling a personal dwelling, which is often tax-free, losing investments, dividends that are taxed at a lower rate than income, margin loans, or stock capital gains that are taxed at a lower rate than a high income tax bracket. The trick is, as stated before, simply learning to use debt the right way. Contrary to the common belief, which holds that debt harms a person's finances, if handled wisely and managed properly, debt can enable anyone to make purchases they otherwise wouldn't be able to and greatly increase returns. For instance, small firms frequently qualify for tax deductions for debt they owe. However, if you use debt wisely, you may even be able to reduce your tax liability while greatly increasing your wealth. Remember that this is not to be taken as financial advice, but it is for educational purposes only. Did you learn anything new? Then like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.